guys, Cola here, and I am definitely not on my way to steal a time machine so I can stop myself from ever investing any time into the show. Now, if you watch my last video, which you should, there's some good content in there, you would know that last episode implied a lot of things. The killer being a talking dog, there's a creepy guy running around calling himself Mr. Scooby. Still a dumb name. Ghosts? But the worst thing episode 8 implied is the fact that the finale might be a bit shit. So that's why I have decided to cut my losses and just do the last 2 episodes in one. If this finale is truly going to be bad, then I'm not wasting any more time. Let's just dive on in. But first, if you enjoy my crippling addiction to bad shows and movies, please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And spoilers for anyone who cares. The episode starts with Velma in a cage in a cave, in the clutches of the killer, a talking dog.
Hello, Velma. I'm Scrappy.
Oh God! What did they do to Scrappy? Why does he look like that? Why does he sound like that? Is that my man Jason Mantzoukas? Yes it is, but I just love this Reddit comment saying that Scrappy sounds like a burnt out sex offender, and when you think about it, that is 100% accurate.
If she's back in time.
Why is he looking at me like I'm a chicken leg?
I'm gonna call you Worm Medicine, cause you really know how to put my heart at ease.
So yeah, Scrappy Doo is here, and he seems to be having brain damage because he constantly lists off catchphrases that don't work for the situation.
Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Side of the story. How is it possible? Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta! Puppy power!
It turns out Scrappy kidnapped Velma because he isn't the killer and is being framed. He needs Velma's help to find the true killer, Don, the army man. What? This obviously makes no sense, and Velma points that out as well. So many things that Scrappy has shows that he is evil.
You live in a literal lair, complete with a strung-out woman lounging in the background.
That's classic villain-ish.
But Scrappy tries to convince her that he is telling the truth, and to make Velma believe him, he lets her go free, and reminds her that no one believed her when her mom got kidnapped in season 1, maybe she can return the favor. Velma runs away. Meanwhile, back at the bus crash, the cop moms have finally realized a student is missing, and don't even bother to put out a search party for Velma. Luckily, Amon and William show up with their respective forces, but they argue between themselves on who will find Velma the quickest. I mean, it's not like her life's in any danger and could be facing imminent threats at any moment.
We're clearly gonna have to find Velma ourselves.
The gang go looking for Velma, but find Edna fleeing her secret lab in the insane asylum instead, because Don and his guys are getting too close to her in their search for Velma. They might accidentally find her illegal operations. And here I am just thinking, how in the world did she get this van into the woods in the first place? Since her place could be compromised, she decides to use her old base under Fred's mansion.
How did you even find us out here?
Finally, someone is asking the real questions. It turns out Amber has been working for Edna ever since she figured out that Edna and Daphne swapped bodies that one time. She's been basically keeping an eye on Norville and Fred because Amber believes that Fred's mom is a ghost. Okay. What's worse is that Edna, the woman of science that she is, supports this theory.
In my brain research, I've long suspected human consciousness detaches from the brain and continues after death. I hired them to try to see if your hallucinations were, in fact, Victoria's detached consciousness, aka a ghost.
How can someone's hallucinations be actually a ghost? We cut back to Velma, who hasn't gotten very far, even though she had like a 20-minute head start. Scrappy finds her, still trying to convince Velma that Don is the real villain, but nothing this deranged dog can say should be enough to change her mind that...
And did Don tell you Uncle Scooby is now missing?
Oh, snap. I mean, continue.
I guess we're believing him now. Scrappy explains that Uncle Scooby initially used the pictures they got to create an operative that would keep an eye on meddling kids by appealing to them with catchphrases. That's where Scrappy comes in. How are none of these kids horrified by the sight of a bipedal talking dog that looks like a more evil gremlin? Moving on, Scrappy explains that Don hates him because he made him look stupid and destroyed his shoes.
Are we sure invincibility is a good idea?
Oh, no, you're right. A super soldier that's easy to kill makes a lot more sense.
How did he know that before he even existed? We will never know. Since Don's trainers are the same as the killers, Velma thinks that it could be him who attacked her in the graveyard in episode 1, and Scrappy agrees. In fact, according to Scrappy, it was Don who made the other operatives uncomfortable by trying to get the others to sign petitions to get rid of Scrappy. This would explain why Don told Amon to drop the whole situation. Nobody was into the idea of Don's petition, so he snapped and resorted to killing the others and framed Scrappy. Now, Scrappy's story has a ton of holes. Like, how does this explain why there are no records or eyewitness testimonies from kids interacting with a talking dog? If Don wanted to kill and frame Scrappy, why is he only doing this now? From what I can tell, it seems Don hated Scrappy from his very conception. Years have passed since then. If Don was really framing Scrappy, then why did he go out of his way to frame Amber first by putting the coroner's bodies on the pentagram circle from the seance? Even going out of his way to put a pentagram on the security cameras. To go on further, why make it sound like the killer was a woman at all? And why is Project Scooby still up and running in the present? If Don really was trying to kill everyone involved, why does he keep the operation going? You see how Scrappy's story makes less sense the more you think about it? A real detective would immediately turn Scrappy in. Not Velma though. Although, to be fair to Velma, she is skeptical that the leap from hating someone to framing them for multiple murders is pretty big. Suspiciously big. Before Velma can pry any further, Amon shows up and Scrappy gives Velma the chance to yet again leave before giving away any more information. So clearly, Velma will choose to stay to try and figure out what is going on, and she leaves. I guess she's just not interested in figuring out the truth. She leaves, but somehow manages to find Daphne and the rest of the gang. If she can find these guys this easily, I have no idea how Edna hasn't been figured out yet. She has a freaking van. Velma collapses and Amon finally spots her. First as well, but still doesn't somehow notice a van driving away in the middle of the woods. It's the next day, and Velma finally wakes up. Everyone wants to know how she escaped the killer, especially Don, but Velma has the best excuse.
Killer? After the accident, I just wandered the woods in a daze, like I was in a perfume commercial.
And they all buy this? No questioning how the bus flipped over? No questions about what was that bloody trail? They just believe her blatant lie. Dia, whose daughter was missing for a whole night, thinks this is the best time to tell everyone that she has accepted William's marriage proposal. Remember that? From the witch burning episode? The C plot? Yeah, we're still doing that. Velma, for the first time ever, doesn't think about herself first and gives her mom her blessing to marry William. This puts her mom in a tricky situation. And I just remembered this is the penultimate episode. Are we really going to spend time on a C plot that should never have been a plot point at all?
Yes, we are.
Everyone starts leaving and Don just lets Velma leave without questioning her further about what happened to her last night. The same guy that basically kidnapped Amon and put him under house arrest for the mere fact he might reveal something about the killer. But Velma, who has been in contact with them and is clearly acting suspiciously, is free to go? That makes perfect sense. Daphne seems to be the only one with a brain cell because she is the only person that notices that Velma is hiding something. And she is. She's hiding Scrappy in one of the military vehicles. How did he even get in? How did Velma get in? How did no one notice? Ugh. I've got to stop asking so many questions or this show is going to give me an aneurysm. Ugh. Just look at him. Who thought this was a good character design?
Hello!
We cut to the rest of the gang back under Fred's mansion in Edna's old lair. And this is where the show officially jumps the shark.
Hey, my dad and Dia got engaged.
Do you know what this means? Do you understand what they have done? The Scooby-Doo franchise, for those who don't know, which I am quickly realizing is the entirety of the Velma writing staff, is about a group of kids who go traveling to places in their iconic mystery machine where they uncover and solve weird mysteries about sighted zombies, werewolves, ghosts, minor 69er. At first, we are led to believe that maybe a werewolf is the cause of the town bank being robbed of all its gold. But the beauty of Scooby-Doo was that there was enough clues to help figure out that there was just a human behind it all, using a local folk tale to distract and scare others away from their property, or to win a snowboarding competition, or to pay off their student debt. That's where the infamous mask pulling scenes are from. Point is, the zombies weren't real. The werewolf was fake. I mean, minus 69 is a true hero, but ghosts don't exist. So this scene just breaks all of the rules and the magic behind what makes a Scooby-Doo show great. And the introduction of real ghosts should be a groundbreaking discovery, but everyone just treats this like an average Thursday. And the reason for her existing doesn't even make sense.
You were haunting me?
Yes, but only because I thought I was a hallucination. But once I realized I was a ghost, I decided to make Fred the man he's meant to be before I moved on.
So you're telling me she didn't pass on to the afterlife because she has unfinished business in making Fred more of a man? That's why she was haunting Norville? What? Why wasn't she haunting Fred from the start? Anyway, as Scrappy drives Velma and Daphne back to town, Scrappy can drive now, by the way? How can he even reach the pedals? Velma tells Daphne everything.
No, Snap, it makes no sense. If Don wanted to frame Scrappy, why would he first frame the witches and then just women in general?
I'm the serial killer.
Oh my god, did Daphne just move up one tier on my likability list? She's asking all the right questions today, which Velma clearly overlooked. Our detective, everybody. But Scrappy says he has a convenient answer that will fix all the plot holes. He then proceeds to not fix any plot holes.
Don didn't convince the military I was the killer until the coroners were dead. That's when Uncle Scooby and I fled. While the military blamed the murders on witches and women to keep anyone from chasing them back to their top-secret project.
First of all, those are incredibly weak bullets. Didn't even leave a mark. Secondly, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't he just frame Scrappy with those murders? That would help Don further convince the military that they need to get rid of Scrappy, which is his whole plan, according to Scrappy. To top it off, Scrappy claims to not even know who Uncle Scooby is, because he's a dog and he sees by smell. Surely he would be able to sniff out who the real Uncle Scooby is and point them out in a crowd, so that shouldn't even be used as an excuse.
Oh, yeah, okay, sure.
Velma, this is crazy. Scrappy is clearly the killer. How can you believe him?
Wow, Daphne is really on a roll. It's so clear to everyone that Scrappy is the killer. Well, clear to everyone but Velma. She is blinded by the fact that nobody believed her when her mom was kidnapped, so she is blindly believing in Scrappy, even though all evidence points to him. Velma, this is not the same situation. Nobody believed you because you were a kid, a terrible one at that. This is a talking dog who hasn't explained his scars even though he is supposed to be invincible. If there is any clue that should tell Velma that Scrappy is the killer, it is why would Don remove the dicks of the men they have killed? But don't worry, Velma has a plan.
So, the plan is to get Don away from his guards in order to make him admit he's the killer and tell us where Uncle Scooby is.
Velma thinks isolating Don at a bachelor party will be the best way to get him alone. So, she has to now convince Aman to propose to Sophie so they can throw a bachelor party all in one night. Luckily, they're down for whatever, as long as Velma shows that she really cares about their relationship, because Sophie, over the course of the season, has somehow come to care for Velma.
I always thought I'd be fine being a hated evil stepmother. But now, before I marry into this family, I need to know you care about me too.
She had to say that out loud because they never really developed it throughout the show. We cut back to the ghost issue and Fred, after seeing his mom again, only asks for one hug, which he can't get because she's a ghost. But Amber comes up with the idea to let Fred's mom possess her body so she can hug her son. Amber quickly comes to regret this decision. That is genuinely messed up. Edna theorizes that since a ghost is just a consciousness, a body can't handle more than one. This gives Fred's mom the brilliant idea to, instead of trying to make Fred a more competent man, she's just going to take over his body and do it herself.
Instead of trying to make myself disappear, I'm going to get rid of you. I'm taking over your body, and I'll be the man you're meant to be.
Mother of the year, everybody. Even in death, she finds a way to screw Fred over. I just love how Fred is fighting for his life and nobody does anything to help him. And I know you're gonna say, what are they supposed to do in this situation? But at least, like, cheer him on or something. But they just stand there, motionless. Fred finally realizes that his mum is evil. It took her trying to literally commit a hostile takeover of his body, but he does manage to find the backbone to overcome her. And this, I have to admit, is probably the best looking scene in the entire series.
I won't like it! I'll hate it! Because I hate you! I've always hated you. You don't get to control me anymore.
It excels on all fronts. The voice acting, animation, music, and even Fred overcoming his greatest trauma really comes together well. Thanks to Fred fending off his mother, this shows her that he really has manned up, causing her soul to ascend to heaven. Wait, that doesn't sound right. The multiple girl murderer and Dia's kidnapper gets to go to heaven. Yeah, that actually makes more sense. Yeah, that feels deserved.
This is all your fault,
I guess Christianity was right all along. We cut back to Velma with her dad on one of the worst bachelor parties I have ever seen. How are you going to have a bachelor party with only 2 other people? One kept you under house arrest and the other is your daughter. What's worse, they're doing this at a strip club, which makes this the second time in this series a man has taken his underage daughter to a strip club. As if tonight couldn't get any worse for the guys, Scrappy jumps out of the cake and is about to kill Don.
Scrappy, stop! We're just supposed to get a confession and learn where Uncle Scooby is.
Sorry, Velma. Turns out I am the killer.
Well, who would have guessed that the evil psychopathic talking dog was the killer? Scrappy tries to explain that yes, he is the killer, but it's not his fault. Project Scooby is the one that created him, so technically it's their fault for making him who he is, and that he is in the right for killing them because it was all in the name of revenge.
Who's really the villain here? Them or me?
You are. You bit their dicks off.
I agree with Velma. Top 10 things I never thought I would ever say. Velma doesn't buy Scrappy's sob story and corners him with his one weakness: vacuum cleaners. The episode ends with Velma saying she knew all along that Scrappy was evil and was only playing along so she could get away from him and trap him, and oh my god, I've just realized in this entire show we have not set up a trap or have the gang split up and look for clues. This really is another IP wearing the Scooby-Doo franchise as a skin suit. Daphne was apparently also in on it too, but that doesn't matter because Scrappy used this as a distraction so that his friends on the inside can get what he needs so he and Uncle Scooby can escape together.
Oh, snappy, dappy, do.
How dare you stand where he stood? We also find out Edna is also in on Scrappy's plan, planning to help put Scrappy's brain in one of the girls' bodies so that he can escape. Why? Is this supposed to be a twist villain thing? A lot of things happened this episode, which I will discuss further in the conclusion section. But for now, I rate this episode a 5 out of 10. On to the finale. So, here we are. The finale of season 2, and hopefully the end of this show completely. I can't do a season 3. The episode starts with Velma sleeping on the couch with nothing much going on, and Uncle Scooby just walked in? Hello?
Stop looking for me or your family will die.
At first, I thought this was a dream sequence with how goofy the whole scene went, but no, that was actually Uncle Scooby in the flesh. They were just able to walk into Velma's house? Why was the door wide open? Why is nobody following them to see where they are going or who they are? This encounter causes Velma to call the cop moms and rethink everything. Velma thinks it's too dangerous to continue her investigation. It is all well and good for her to finally realize this is way above her pay grade, but I have invested too much time into this show for Velma to just quit. It feels like I've been scammed. Again.
But Scrappy told us he plans to escape with Uncle Scooby. The only way to stop that from happening is to find Uncle Scooby. Scooby, dude, where are you?
Okay, I liked that line. Sue me. But Don is now pretty much useless since the military are covering everything up and refuse to give him any more manpower. So how come he had a chopper in the last 5 minutes of the episode? We won't talk about that now. Essentially, they're on their own, Just when all hope seemed lost, Sophie announces that they will be having a double wedding at Fenn's mansion in 1 week. This gives Velma an idea on how to keep investigating without Uncle Scooby finding out. This truly shows that some miracles are granted to the worst of people. While the wedding preparations are underway, Velma reveals her plan.
Wait until you hear my plan.
You want Dr. Perdue to swap our brains?
I know, it's crazy.
Since Uncle Scooby is somehow watching her all of the time, or I don't know, maybe lock your doors at night, Velma thinks if they swap bodies, Velma can investigate as Daphne, whilst Uncle Scooby would be watching Daphne in Velma's body. I'm guessing Velma doesn't realize she is putting Daphne in danger with her plan. Luckily, Daphne doesn't realize either because she's all in for it. And all this does for the rest of the episode is to teach each other the hardships of being a popular girl or ugly. Odd time to learn this lesson now. In the finale? Really? And I'm pretty sure they did something similar already in season 1. Anyway, Edna is hiding in the caves because she's evil now, maybe? And is caught with the bodies by Norville and Lola. She comes up with a lie saying she has them because she is trying to put the brains back in their bodies. This plot point leads to Norville and Lola's relationship taking a hit because Norville doesn't know which body is Lola's and accidentally thinks that she was Brenda instead. I can't really blame the guy because the brains' personalities are so interchangeable of each other, I don't even know which one is Lola. Hell, I don't even know the name of the third brain girl. You're probably wondering what Fred has been doing this entire time. You know, since he finally overcame his mother and gained her respect, surely he'd be a more dependable person. Well, no. He's back to square one because his dad and his board of directors think he is still an immature child. So Fred has to basically do the same thing he did in the last episode and gain the others' respect. Velma hears from the brains that Krista, that's her name. That's at least one mystery solved. So Velma hears that Edna has their bodies and figures out that that means she is Uncle Scooby because the bodies are supposed to be at Project Scooby and that Edna must have gotten them when Scrappy was distracting everyone at the strip club.
You have the hot girls' bodies. You stole them from Project Scooby while Scrappy distracted Don and me. And now you're gonna use them to escape.
Correct. But again, I'm not Uncle Scooby.
Edna claims that after she got out of Daphne's body, Uncle Scooby somehow figured out she was alive and where her secret base was. Uncle Scooby then offered Edna a deal to help them escape, and then Edna could have a body of her own to allow herself to finally be free. Edna took the deal. And there are some things wrong with this. How does Uncle Scooby know where Edna's secret base is? And since they do know where it is, why do they need Edna's help? If it's because Edna is the only one that can operate the machine, we know that is a complete lie. In this episode alone, we have just seen Velma and Daphne swap brains by themselves with no help. And why would Edna even take this deal? She has the brain swapping machine. She could swap at any time. Right now, she's choosing to be on the run. Even Velma calls her out on this.
But you own a brain swapping machine. You could have a different body every day.
True, but the brains' bodies were already assumed dead.
It doesn't matter anyway because Uncle Scooby is now down here and takes Velma out for good. Sadly, not in the way you're thinking. They literally take Velma out of her body and dump her next to Daphne, who is also unconscious. Since Velma is a no-show at the wedding, Sophie calls the whole thing off, thinking that Velma still hates her. This sets off a ripple effect that allows Scrappy to escape from jail. Edna has a change of heart after listening to Norville's attempts to win back Lola and reveals that they have been working with Uncle Scooby and Scrappy. Also, the white trainers are scent markers to let Scrappy know where Uncle Scooby is whenever they want to meet up and escape. Basically meaning Scrappy is on his way as we speak. Panic stations as we enter the final stretch. Daphne wakes up and manages to save Velma before she croaks. What a hero. Velma realizes that Daphne loves her and this was the final clue she needed in order to figure out who Uncle Scooby really is. After some Deus Ex Amber, they catch Uncle Scooby and not a single trap in sight. What has this series become? Finally, with Uncle Scooby caught, we can reveal it is in fact
Sophie?
Wait. So you can be an accomplice in multiple homicides, but I'm not allowed to park in a handicap spot?
Sophie, surname not found, is Uncle Scooby. And the way Velma figures this out is insane. because Uncle Scooby didn't kill her in the cemetery that one time, Velma deduces that that means Uncle Scooby must care about her in some way.
From the time Uncle Scooby attacked me in the graveyard, they could have killed me to stop my investigation. So why didn't they? Because they must care about me on some level.
That has to be one of the most deluded things I have ever heard. Personally, I would have chalked that up to incompetence and plot armor. Furthermore, Velma thinks the reason Uncle Scooby kept that identity hidden is not because they were doing a bad thing and didn't want to be identified, but because after spending a day in Daphne's body and seeing what a hot girl has to deal with, Uncle Scooby must be a hot girl who doesn't want too much attention. What is she smoking? That's the reason you think they were wearing a mask? Not because they're ugly or don't want to be identified by cameras because they want to do their evil in peace, but because they're hot? And what's worse is, of course she's right. Sophie explains how she used to be in the military and any idea she had was shut down because of misogyny. Because remember, this show is woke. She was assigned the worst position in Project Scooby, but managed to look out one day when she saw Dia with Edna's research and got the pictures. She put on the Uncle Scooby disguise, which according to the writers meant it altered her physiology and strength. She literally lifted Daphne with one arm. But more importantly, it allowed her to pitch her idea of an invincible, talking dog who will relate to kids and keep an eye on them. That's how Scrappy was born. But once he started killing people, the military denied all involvements and bailed. The military ran away. Sure, let's go with that then. Because Sophie was scared for her own life, she helped cover up Scrappy's murders. But wouldn't it have been better to have dumped all the bodies at Project Scooby instead of littering them around town? The military wouldn't even look into it. Nobody would have found them, and none of this would have ever happened. Sophie happened to hear that Edna was still alive, leading to her making that deal to allow all of them to escape in different bodies. But this raises another question. Why did Sophie agree to a wedding? If she was going to escape in a different body, did she think Amon and everyone else wouldn't notice that Sophie was missing? What would have happened to her baby? And we have to talk about the bad faith this show has towards the murdered victims. Since they're all guys, it seems no one cares. They're treated like villains who should have rightfully died. No one gives a second thought about them. After all of this, Sophie isn't even arrested. She's allowed to go free, even though she created Scrappy and was an accomplice to all his murders. But oh no, the guys who just happened to be in the same vicinity as Scrappy when he was created, those are the real villains. Edna reveals that she has already put the brains back in their bodies, and this pisses Scrappy off, going on a killing rampage. Luckily, Don shows up in a chopper, which he shouldn't have because he has no one backing him anymore, and saves them. I'm not even going to question the logistics of this shot right here, but Velma decides to stay behind and face Scrappy head on. Velma stands no chance because remember, he's invincible, but a Deus Ex missile blows Scrappy away and crashes the helicopter. They all survive this, even Scrappy, because again, he's invincible, but he has one other weakness, being possessed by another consciousness, aka Velma Dinkley. Yeah, Velma died. I can't believe this. Was somebody in the writer's room checking off my wish list? She's actually dead. Like full on dead. Although it is a bit suspicious she's died from falling off the balcony, but literally survived falling down a cliffside last season.
I'm sorry, Velma. I have done everything, but I can't revive your body.
Velma's dead. Dead. And no one seems to really be affected. Even her mom and dad are smiling. Amber says she might be able to bring her back on Halloween, but I hope not. And that's it. That's the end of the season. It just ends. What was that finale? I'm combining the last 2 episodes to give this ending a chance, but it's still just terrible. I rate this episode a 3 out of 10. And that's only because they had the balls to actually kill off Velma. But so many things didn't make any sense and felt contrived. People are now allowed to get away with being accessories to murder because they are a woman and feel oppressed. Fred had his father's respect, lost his father's respect, only to once again gain his father's respect. Norville ended the season the same way he started, pathetic and alone. Edna became the dumbest genius of all time and lost all her morals, trading it in for a half-assed twist villain gig. Sophie and Scrappy Scrappy's plan made no sense, Daphne's character is still a plank of wood, Velma became a living ghost who should be dragged off to hell for all her actions, and I am the fool who kept watching this crap. Here is a list of the season 2 episode ratings for anyone who cares. You can clearly see where this season gave me a tiny ounce of hope before becoming utter dog shit. Pun intended. I'm glad I am done with this show, and I hope I never have to come back to this. But tell me what you guys thought of the season. Were there any episodes you liked? And tell me what show you want me to look at next. I seriously need some positivity after this fiasco. Thanks for watching the video. Sorry it took so long for this one to get out there. I was just so busy this last couple weeks. But I hope you enjoyed it all the same. Cola out.